Hey everyone, it's Sheila with Sheila and Co. at Samson Properties. Thanks for stopping by TJF Tidbits. Today we will be talking with Matt Landsberg, who is the L in CLA title. He is one of our preferred title companies for our clients. So he'll be talking about the market, why the title company is important. We'll also talk about title insurance and the shifting market. So thanks for stopping by and enjoy. Hey, Matt.
Hey there, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
How's it going?
All is well. So just staying busy.
What has been your experience for the past 2 years, business wise, for title companies during, you know, the crazy sellers market that we had for almost 24 months?
Yeah, I think initially at the onset of the pandemic, we were very concerned and we were in a position where we were on standby to lay people off. And unbeknownst to really everybody, it turned the opposite direction and the housing market went on fire. And so we had a huge uptick in transactions. The refinance side was booming as well. Of course, you're never going to get, we're just going to come across interest rates that were what they were, over the last couple of
Oh
years.
yeah, I totally agree. I refied our rate. Our I think our rate was like 4.25 and now it's at 2.95 or 2.75. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, needless to say, like both our refinance business and our purchase business just skyrocketed. And I think that was pretty standard amongst most title companies. Since that point, especially on the refinance side, has dried up, right? If you
Yeah.
didn't refinance over the last few years, you're kind of waiting on the sidelines until that opportunity presents itself again. But I don't foresee it being in the very near future.
When do you foresee it
But
then?
yeah, the market. I'm sorry.
Foresee it? I know not in the near future, but do you foresee it in like 3 years, 4 years? You see it ever coming back down again?
I think we've got to be in pretty desperate times for them to be that aggressive on lowering interest rates. And given the amount of liquidity in the market and the amount of money on the sidelines, obviously that's being eaten up by inflation. But I don't see that level of recession where they need to cut interest rates to that degree, especially, in a scenario where we are now in stagflation, where you've got the inflation offset by what I foresee as a near-term recession. So,
Now, the current market we're in, right, where the rates have gone up, um, do you see a slowdown in the market because the rates have gone up? Obviously, it's no longer seller's market, it's a buyer's market, but with higher interest rates. Have you seen it slow down since the rate hike?
yeah, we have. I mean, year over year from a year ago, we're probably at a 10 to 15% decrease in overall transaction volume. So we've seen things soften a little bit. And what we hear is just based on the number of competing offers on a given property is decreased quite a bit. So I think a lot of the sort of entry level buyers are in some ways getting priced out, and housing prices are still strong, as you know, but it's softening up a little bit for buyers. So it's definitely beneficial to the buyers right now.
Yeah, I think we wrote our first offer the other day under asking price and it got accepted. So I was like, oh, here we go. Happy for my buyers because literally 2 months ago we were writing them for 40,000 over. And now we're back to, a normal market. Tell us about the importance of the title company and then walk us through why title insurance is important because that seems to be a hot topic with some buyers when they start looking at those numbers and start crunching them and saying, wait a second, I just paid for this insurance. What's title insurance? Do I really need it? So those two topics.
Yeah, so the title company is probably the least well known of the transaction. Everybody's familiar with the realtors, everybody's familiar with the lenders, and some of the other players involved, but the title company is certainly one of the least understood. And so we're sort of the hub of the transaction. Pretty much all the pieces of the transaction go through the title company. We're gathering information from the sellers, we're gathering information from the buyers, we're working with the lenders and the realtors as well. And then we're getting tax information on the property. We're getting all the background information on the property, doing title searches, examining the title to those properties, and then we're conducting the settlement. And then after the settlement, we're dispersing the funds according to the documents, the closing disclosure, the ALTA. And then we're recording the signed documents with the respective county to make sure that it's in the land records and the whole world knows that that new buyer does indeed own the property, amongst a few other things in that process. But so that's what we do in a nutshell. And again, most people aren't familiar with us. They just know, oh, title company, I go and sign the documents with them. They don't really know the majority of things that are being done behind the scenes. As far as the importance of title, that sort of goes hand in hand with the lack of general understanding of what we do. So the title is whenever, property is conveyed, we have to make sure that that underlying property has the right to be conveyed. And we have to verify that there's no outstanding liens or judgments on that property to prevent it from being marketable to the next buyer, right? And so even if something is missed, that's what the title insurance is for. And so while title claims are not super common, that is really a byproduct of the title company doing good work and clearing the title prior, making sure that the necessary pieces are being handled appropriately. But it does happen, and there are unforeseen things, whether it's a title company mistake, whether it's the search abstractor mistake, or maybe it's something that wasn't in the public records at the time and that came up and ended up on title, that becomes a major issue for that new buyer. And while somebody might look at the title insurance and think that's expensive, I tend to look at that and think it's relatively inexpensive, considering title insurance is only a one-time fee. It cannot be purchased after settlement, and it covers for as long as that owner owns a property. So it's not a reoccurring expense like homeowners insurance or car insurance. It's a one-time expense, and there are different levels of title insurance that one can get. But again, it's there to protect the consumer, and it is used. And there are horror stories about people that bought a property and something happened, and fortunately, they had title insurance that protected them. It's probably only about 1% or less than 1% of consumers that I'm aware of, at least from our experience, that don't buy title insurance. And that carries a lot of risk. It's, obviously I have vested interest in telling you that, title insurance is great, but I legitimately do think that's important. I have title insurance for my own house that I bought. Mm-hmm. And even after doing the search and all that, and it's a worthy investment, and I see it as that, and a sort of protection mechanism. So, the title insurance is definitely a big deal. And if you have to pay $1,000 or $2,000 for title insurance to protect what in our area is easily a $500,000 property, I consider that relatively inexpensive, considering the asset that it's protecting.
Sure. All right. And then let's go over, I know we've only got a few more minutes left, but can we go over title fees?
Sure.
What do title fees involved? And are there any fees that the buyer has to pay attention to outside of your title fees that on the settlement sheet? Is there anything else on there that they should pay attention to?
Uh, well, I think all the fees are important, and every consumer should go through and really understand what the fees are. We work to send out the settlement statement well in advance of settlement to give everybody a chance to look it over. And needless to say, if somebody does have a question or is unsure about something, we're there prior to settlement if somebody wants to ask and clarify. And then, of course, that's also the job of the title company at settlement, is to go through line by line to make sure everybody knows what it is they're signing and the specifics of those documents and those expenses. Are there any particular ones? I think the ones that have the risk of the highest mistake on a settlement statement are probably going to be your prorations between seller and buyer, just because a lot of title companies work in multiple counties and in multiple states where the prorations may be different based on when taxes were paid and when certain things happen. So that is certainly something to pay attention to. I think most of the items there are important, but I don't think that there's any one item that one should pay more attention to over another.
Yeah.
It's all pretty well
And
checked
then,
out beforehand.
right. Okay. And then finally, one last thing. What separates you from other title companies? I could start by saying you guys definitely take great care of my clients that are relocating from out of state. I think you're one of very few title companies that actually cater to remote closings, and not just mailing the documents, but actually having like a notary of some sort meet the client and go over the documents with them. I know some title companies, if you want to do remote closing, they'll literally just mail you the documents and,
Yeah.
hopefully send them back correctly.
Yeah.
Because I've had it where a title company sent all the documents to my client, who's a first time home buyer, and he printed them double sided, signed everything. And then they got the paperwork back and they're like, oh no, you have to do it all over again because we can't have it double sided, and delayed closing, gosh, for I don't know how many days. But yeah, so that's definitely a unique feature you guys have. But what outside of that, what separates you? What makes you unique from other title companies?
I think it starts with the culture of the company and the culture of the people within the company. That we have the mantra of world-class service. And so we really work very hard to give great attention to our clients. And so we cap the number of transactions that each one of our processors has. So to make sure that they're very available from the standpoint of quick communication, and that you can, if you need something, they're there for you. We've got a great legal team that's always accessible, including, our cell phone numbers are on our website. So we can be tracked down pretty much anytime, anywhere, should somebody need something. Aside from, the remote settlements, and we can do remote online notarization for sellers and buyers in certain situations. We're doing all the things technologically to make it easy for the consumer so that they can get money to us easier, so they can close easier, and that their hands held all the way through, especially for the new home buyers, to make it simple.
Cool. All right. Any last tidbits that you'd like to add on before we leave?
If you're selling a property, get it out, list it soon. Don't wait anymore.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate it.
Okay, likewise. Take care, Sheila.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye.